The wise win before they fight, while the ignorant fight to win.
Soldiers of Shoot, we are back. And we have some news bits that we wanted to discuss. I am Hollywood Edwards, and with me is the Electric City Saint. Saint, how are you this evening?
Hey, I'm doing very good today, honestly. And before we get going here, I just want to say, bro, that show you and Stames did on Monday, dude, I don't know how you guys torture yourself like watching that show for 3 hours, bro. I think if we had any kind of Medal of Honor or Purple Heart system here at SOS, you guys definitely pretty much earned like a Purple Heart each already. Because like I seriously don't know how you guys got through that show, like, because that was 3 hours, and then you guys went about an hour and a half. And I look at like what actually transpired on Raw, and it was just a god awful show. I mean, you look at that, and to me, it encapsulates the feeling of going insane. And you even said like you were going insane, and I felt it as a listener, as a viewer. I felt that, like, I felt like you were like losing brain cells or something there.
Yeah. That's what it felt like. Oh boy. But yeah, I appreciate the kind words there, Electric City Saint.
So what do we got on the docket for today?
Okay, so this is what I wanted to start with. I wanted to go ahead and discuss Roman Reigns to kick it off. Roman Reigns has been announced. If you are following the Soldiers of Shoot on Twitter, at Soldiers of Shoot, you would have seen I retweeted Vince McMahon announcing that Roman Reigns, Joe Anoa'i, by the way, and by the way, people cannot pronounce the Samoan's last name. It's not Ano, it's not Anoe, it's not Anoa'i, it's Anoa'i. So Vince actually tweeted Roman Reigns, Joe Anoa'i, will be returning to Raw and giving us an update on his health status. First off, coming off the heels of last week's Raw, like you said, it was miserable, and just the sound of our voices made you want to go insane. I think the follow-up that we did after that about the ratings, everybody was talking about how great the ratings are because the NXT guys were on. Turned out it wasn't actually true if you take a look at the numbers. It was a slight improvement, but we're talking about 60, 70,000 people. I think Vince McMahon having Ric Flair's birthday party and adding Roman Reigns, I think he looked at those numbers Monday and said, okay, maybe Ric Flair's birthday party isn't going to be enough. I want to pop this rating. I got to bring back Roman, even if it's just for a health update. First question to you, Electric City Saint. Why is Roman coming back? What will his involvement be? Will it just be simply a health status? And do you think he will have a role, of course, with the upcoming WrestleMania? Any of that you want to hit, feel free.
Well, I would say right off the bat, they desperately, and I mean desperately, need him back. Let's look at like their roster. Who really is like that big megastar? We've already like gone over this previous times, on this show. Mm-hmm. And I really I look at him, and like I said, I think they desperately need him back. He is right now, believe it or not, as even though people will want to deny it, or they'll say, all kind of bad stuff about the guy, even though they don't know the man behind the wrestler. If you think about it, he really is their best guy there, and even above Cena, even above the Undertaker, even above Lesnar. He is, as crazy as it sounds, he is their biggest name right now. They desperately need him back, and I think, unfortunately, I don't quite think we're going to get him back that soon, because I think they're just going to have him on, like as you said, to do a health update. I would even guess that maybe, I don't know if they've officially announced it or not, but I almost would think that he might not actually physically be there. They might just have him, up on the Tron or whatever at his home, like giving an announcement. And have they actually like decided how that's going to be done, or like is it up in the air?
That's interesting. I didn't even think of it that way, but no, they didn't specify. As far as I know, I think it was just stated that he's returning to Raw. And that could be looked at both ways, I think. Whether he's there in person or not, he'd be returning to Raw. So maybe you're right about that.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it too, as well. And it's very crazy to think about it. Put this into perspective for a second. This, if he doesn't get cleared before Mania, which I think is a very strong possibility, this is going to be the first time in about 5 years that he hasn't been on a WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Think about that, bro. That's insane to think about. I mean, that really shows you, that he has been a mainstay in that promotion for several years now, whether people want to believe it or not. I mean, if you look at a lot of their other guys, how many other people can you say have been there and have been on the last 5 WrestleManias? You'd be surprised. There really isn't quite that many others, as crazy as that, might sound. And I think that really is a testament to his career. He has really carried the promotion the last few years. I will flat out admit it. And I'm a guy that over the last few years, I have kind of, been on and off with Roman Reigns. Sometimes I hate the guy, and sometimes, I just don't care about him. Or other times, he actually is one of my favorite guys in the promotion. And I really do think it shows so much that the rating has dropped since he has been gone. He really, it's almost like his presence has been lacking there, and it almost really shows quite a bit, I think. It's totally obvious.
Yeah. Like you're saying, I think when we see him again, he has the star power. And whether people want to blame Vince McMahon for shoving him down in their throats and all that, look, you just said what you said. I am a huge Reigns fan. AC is a huge Reigns fan. DJ Stames is a huge Reigns fan. Because to us, he reminds us of that guy. The guy that we like. He wrestles big. He stays in his lane when he's in the ring. He doesn't do things that, he doesn't try to be Finn Balor. He knows who he is, and he works that way. I think he's a great seller. And let's face it, in Pennsylvania here, some could say we are kind of biased because if you don't like the Samoans in Pennsylvania, you have a problem because they're basically royalty up in these parts anyway.
Yeah, more so around where you and Stames live, but even up this way, they run shows around this area, so I'm very well familiar with them.
Well, let me ask you this. It was also announced Tuesday after Raw. Good Morning America has announced on Twitter that Roman Reigns would be joining them, WWE star. Is this something to worry about? Because I got to say, Electric City Saint, as a fan of his, I don't understand if he's coming back to Raw and they're going to do any kind of angle, if they would announce him as the special host of WrestleMania, if they would announce him in a spot where maybe he is managing Seth Rollins, maybe he escorts him to the ring, whatever. I don't see that being something valuable to Good Morning America to help promote WrestleMania. So what I'm worried about is, what if we get bad news? What if he's saying, what if this is a partial retirement type announcement? Can you explain to me, and maybe I'm overthinking things, but why would he be going on Good Morning America the day after?
Yeah, that is honestly a very scary thing to think about. That is very, very much a possibility because you don't know a whole lot about what's going on with him. But on the flip side of things, who better to have on Good Morning America? If you're thinking about who you want to have come in and promote WWE, he's the perfect guy. He's shown that several times in the past. I mean, as far as mainstream names, it's who else is there besides him, Cena, and Lesnar? To me, it makes perfect sense for him to be in that spot. But like you said, maybe this is a bad thing we really don't know. Maybe he will be going on like Good Morning America to talk about leukemia. Like maybe this is more going to be of a thing promoting leukemia awareness more than
Could
it
be.
has to do with wrestling.
It could be.
Like I'm not really sure what to think about that myself. Now I have a question for you too regarding him. Has there been any kind of like recent photos of him? Does he look any different? Because I mean, usually like dealing with something like that, usually you have to go through chemotherapy, and a lot of them, like a lot of them surgeries and a lot of that, like that radiation and stuff. Usually, he might have had to cut his hair or something like that. I'd be curious to know, like, if there's any like recent photos of him. Does he look any different, or does he look good, or like what?
He doesn't look any different, and this is a misconception about chemotherapy. Depending,
right, it's not every single one, right?
Right. It depends how aggressive it is and how aggressive the treatment is. I know from personal experience that one of my relatives that has recently gone through his first round of chemo didn't lose any hair. Didn't actually gained weight. I mean, a lot of the knowledge that I had going into that topic was based upon years ago. The treatments, the upgraded treatments that they have now, like I heard horror stories. Oh, this is going to go through this, and it's no picnic. It's no, I'm not saying it is a picnic, but the horror stories that we remember, apparently it's not so bad if you have, it depends, of course, what stage you have. But for a guy like him, I keep seeing it online everywhere in comments and tweets. Oh, it's a work. Oh, it's a work. And I didn't really want to get into this on this topic, but I just stumbled on it. So here I go. Listen, marks. Wrestling marks. Listen to me. Not everything related to pro wrestling is a damn work. Okay? The dude really had leukemia in the past. It's not a work. Okay? Not everything you see is wrestling. These people, Saint, I gotta tell you, because they hate the character called Roman Reigns that they see on Monday night. He's been pushed down our throats for, 7 years? All that stuff. I am seeing people out there that are actually wishing death upon him because they hate a character, a fictional character that a man named Joe Anawai plays on a TV show called Monday Night Raw. They cannot separate the difference between his fictional character named Roman Reigns and his real life persona, which is his human persona named Joe. Can you comment on this for me, please, before I blow a gasket? Because if I see one more person go out and insult a fictional character because they don't like his fictional character, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to me. I'm going to need some kind of treatment at this point because these people are absolutely insane.
Honestly, to even think that, to say it, despicable. There's no other way to describe it. I mean, that is just absolutely terrible for people to think that way. I mean, especially like you said, he is portraying a fictional character. That's not who he is in real life, bro. Like, for people to really like wish him to die, like or whatever, like it's just, that's disgusting. It's not healthy human behavior.
No.
At all.
No.
I mean, to think that way, I realize there's a lot of hate in this world today, but I mean, come on, bro. I mean, it's insane. Sometimes I think people, honestly, they might take this shit too seriously.
Mm-hmm.
It's a major problem, I think.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's not mentally healthy. It's I think people watch wrestling so much that they forget that it's not a part of reality. Like it's a literal fictional reality that Vince McMahon created. So now you have a hate for a human being because you hate the booking that Vince McMahon decided to push him through the moon. Like, you are mentally insane if you think that way. It's insane.
Hey, I was not joking when I was saying that. I think people watching Raw for 3 hours straight, I think, is really driving people insane, bro.
You might be right.
I mean, look at the way Melvin Dassey turned out, bro. Come on. I mean, for somebody like, I mean, when that show is that mind-numbingly bad, and when it's insulting your intelligence and everything else, it's like it almost makes you. Really does almost make you insane. Like thinking, like, how is this show this friggin' bad, bro?
It's true. It's true. But do you have anything else on Roman before we move off?
No, I don't, but I will say that I have hopeful wishes that he recovers from this really soon. Obviously, him personally, he doesn't deserve to go through that. He's a father. He's a very, from what I've read, he's a very good person. He's very good to his fans. But also, like I said, from on a more smaller scale, I think they, like I said, they desperately need him back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
There's no denying it.
They do. They do. Yeah. Best wishes to Joe Anawai, the guy that plays the character Roman Reigns. We here at Soldiers of Shoot are pulling for you, sir, and your family. So let's hope for some good news on Raw. Let's switch gears here for a second, Electric City Saint, and talk about some Matt Hardy. Turns out his wife, Rebby, put out a tweet. I don't know. I think it was a tweet. It was either a tweet or an interview spot that she did. But I have the quote here. Somebody asking about Matt. She said, Matt is good. Matt is right now going through a bit of a transitional period. He's not really sure what he's going to be doing. His contract is up in March, which I'm not sure many people are aware of. But there's sort of a decision to be made at this point as to whether or not he should continue his in-ring career or if he should pursue something different, which he would totally be up for and would be excited to do. Question is, transitional period, there's sort of a decision to be made at this point. Whether or not he should continue his in-ring career or if he should pursue something different. I have a theory on this. And I'll let you go ahead. I want to hear your input before maybe it'll affect my theory on this. But what do you think? Is this no news? I mean, it's news, obviously, that Matt Hardy could be a free agent again. But what's your take on this?
First off, I will say that I did not know about this before we went on air, so this is all like brand new to me.
Okay.
The way I take that is that he is either considering going into acting, which I think he has had independent movie roles in the past. Now, he's shown that he's a very good actor, of course, with the broken Matt Hardy gimmick and all the different things he's done throughout the years. Or maybe he's considering, transitioning to being like a producer or something. We've seen it so often, even within the last month or so since we've started this show. It seems like a lot of guys that were former talents are transitioning towards becoming producers. I mean, hell, they friggin' signed 5 of them? What would be one more at this point? And even also there's other promotions that he could do that at as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be WWE. So I think my theory is that he is either considering, as you said, continuing, in ring wise, or maybe he's considering doing a backstage role. The movie thing is obviously a possibility as well, but I don't quite think as a full-time thing that he would commit towards being like an actor. I think that'd just be more like a side hobby or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of agree with. That's why I didn't want to say it to affect your thoughts, but evidently we have the same thoughts. Where she's saying whether or not he should continue his in-ring career, my theory is that specifically Vince, would like to re-sign him, but maybe he said, you know what, I want you in a producer role. Matt Hardy on screen, no, I have no plans for that, but I would like to have you backstage. That's what I think is being discussed here, because we obviously know from the past that Matt Hardy did not struggle at all when he hit the indies. And to me, if he's going to think about continuing his in-ring career, I think that means he has to do it elsewhere. So this is going to be really interesting. Personal opinion. We know he's a genius in his head, obviously. Would you rather him apply that genius backstage at WWE to help fix that product? Or would you rather Matt have one more go around on the indies as Broken Matt Hardy or whatever else gimmick is floating around in that head of his?
Me personally, I feel like one additional producer at this point, especially like after they signed all them guys, I don't think is going to solve the problem overnight, of course, because it's already been proven that it hasn't been with Raw and SmackDown this week. And I feel like, of course, he's been in the business over 20 years, I believe. I would imagine he has a good mind for the business. If I was him, I would consider maybe going to AEW, where he could probably contribute on both like both ends of the spectrum, because I feel like he could be a backstage guy, like Billy Gunn or whoever else like that, but also we obviously know he could still go. He has a lot to still offer on as far as the in-ring stuff goes. I mean, look at what he's done the past few years, totally reinvented himself multiple times, and he's managed to stay relevant and always have something very entertaining to bring to the table. And I think if he was to go on the indies again, of course, Broken Matt would sell tickets, of course. I think that's a very over gimmick that he pretty much I think anybody else, as we've said in the past, I don't think anybody else could have made that work except for him. But I think he is, like I said, a very intelligent guy. He's a very creative guy. Both the Hardy brothers are. I think personally, if he does go to the indies, which I think, I'm looking at this as a very strong possibility, I think we could possibly be seeing a very new Matt Hardy emerging. I think it's a very strong possibility, because he has proven in the past that he is one of the most creative minds as far as creating a new character, creating different nuances for the character, things like that. He's proven that he is one of the most creative people in the business right now. So I could really see any of these being an option. I really can't. Me personally, I can't commit to picking one or the other for him. And I think, like I said, AEW would be the perfect outlet for him to do both.
Well, I'll tell you this, and it might surprise you. Not that I want him to stay with the WWE, because I don't think it's going to matter if he's in the back, because all ideas must run through Vince. So we've seen what became of Broken Matt with Woken Matt, and, I don't know about you, but I didn't care for it.
No, I did not care for it at all, bro. And quite frankly, they totally castrated that character.
Yeah.
I mean, for real, that character in TNA was almost iconic, I would say. It was so entertaining and so unique and so different that it was one of the best gimmicks we've seen in recent years here. And then as soon as he comes to WWE, what do they do with him? They just water it down and ruin it.
Yeah, and the surprise that I was going to say was I would like to see him actually go to ROH. Because I think that company needs a lot of help right now. And my God, the past couple years of NXT, everybody shipping out to NXT, they need some help right now. I know Bully Ray is there as far as that, ring general leadership guy. But man, if they can get Matt too, maybe they can, I don't know, maybe they can make some changes, get some fresh ideas, some fresh storylines, and maybe, kind of transition into something more than what they always are, what they're satisfied with. I wouldn't mind seeing we're all excited for AEW to take on WWE, that whole thing. But if Ring of Honor could actually sneak in there and be a player again, I think that might be something that he might want to think about and be interested in doing as well.
Yeah, of course. We kind of practically have like a WWF, WCW, ECW thing going on our hands with them three
Mm-hmm.
promotions. I could very much see that as a possibility, going forward. And I totally agree, though, as far as Ring of Honor goes, they really need some help right now. They don't have a whole lot of veteran presence there, and they also don't have a lot of names, as far as I'm concerned, or people that I really care about, look like watching. Over the years, as we've said, they have lost quite a lot of people to NXT, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And as you could see, their roster right now is hurting a lot. I mean, they still have very good guys there, like Jay Lethal, the Kingdom, of course, Bully Ray, Dalton Castle. But who else, as far as who they have, who else, like, can you really think of that you would even really care about seeing?
I still love the Briscoes. Lethal, like you're saying, but I mean they still have Taven is there and Flip Gordon is there, AC's guys, but yeah, they have a lot of other people too that I'm just not interested in. I actually watched the show this week, and it's like, man, I don't know. They lost something here. They got to restock the pile.
Yeah, they definitely need to rebuild, and I feel like he would be a good building block as far as somebody to start off with. That would really, if his presence, I think, would benefit backstage, and then also like in ring. You could have him, like as I said with AEW, you could have him be a producer backstage, and of course you could still have him be, your in ring guy who can be maybe mid card or even the main event possibly. He's shown that he could do either or and be successful at both sides of that. And I also feel like too, like I totally agree with what you said. Ring of Honor right now, their product is just not that exciting. And I partially blame this on something that you and me have talked about in the past off air multiple times. I feel like right now, them taping a month and a half in advance really hurts them quite a bit.
Yes, totally.
There's no denying it.
That's been my one sticking point. I think that's all of us, General Stames included. We all have that issue with them. And, man, it's like, I think AC said it on one of his shows. It's like that roller coaster, he said specifically. That pay-per-view comes and you're like, man, they could really knock it out of the park when they want to. And then the next night they're taping 6 shows, 8 shows, and then, things start happening in reality that don't match TV, and then it's spoiled and it's pointless. Yeah, it's like, man, it's so difficult with them. I just don't know why they don't suck it up. I mean, they're owned by Sinclair Broadcasting. Go live. Spend some money and make a live television show.
I think they would really benefit from going live. Me personally, I probably would tune back in again. I haven't really been watching it too much lately because of that, what we've just gone over, the fact that it's not live. And I feel like if they went live or taped less in advance, it would probably bring me back in most likely.
Yes.
Like, even if they taped like 2 weeks in advance or 3, like if you're doing this a month and a half in advance, think about like all the stuff that could go on between now and then. Mm-hmm. Like within that time span, a lot can happen. And like when they're doing this, it almost loses the point of watching it. Like you said, when reality isn't matching up with what's going on their TV program.
Well, for the record, I wouldn't hate it if Matt Hardy went to AEW, but I think Ring of Honor needs a lot of help right now. And speaking of restocking that pile, Ty Dillinger, Hideo Itami, and TJ Perkins were all officially released from the WWE. Any of these guys going to AEW, any of these guys going to ROH, I personally think Itami is going back to Japan. I think all 3 of these guys can fit in any of that company and be valuable to any of those companies. Your thoughts on Dillinger, Itami, and Perkins? I mean, it's heavily rumored that Itami does want to go home. I don't know if that's true, but I read it. A guy like Perkins, we watched all the time in TNA back in the day. And Dillinger is Dillinger. He's got a relationship with Cody Rhodes. Where do you see the 3 of these guys ending up?
Well, I will say this before we get into that. I think it's it's almost seems like they've done the spring cleaning early. Typically around, within the next couple of months, they do get rid of a lot of people. WWE does. They release a bunch of people, and it almost seems like they're doing this a little bit early. And I almost wonder, like, if AEW is affecting that. But also, it's just the fact that, most of these guys were unhappy there. Out of three, apparently the only one that actually it was WWE's decision was Perkins, which I find very interesting because he did tweet that he really enjoyed his time in WWE and was very sad to go. And he's a little bit of a shock, but at the same time, I look at what he did in WWE, bro, he was not very memorable. He was honestly, besides doing like the dab, which at the time when he was doing that, it was practically like already like an outdated thing.
Yep.
But besides that, and like his entrance music, and the fact that he was, of course, the first cruiserweight champion under like the new title. Other than that, like his run there was very boring. I hate to say that, but I don't have any other way to word it. He was one of them guys that I just was not very entertained with. Like I didn't really see the appeal to him.
I agree. I think he's a good wrestler, but I think somebody like ROH can benefit from him being there. Like, especially with that type of product.
Right. I would exactly agree with that. I think as far as he goes, he would be a perfect fit for TNA or Ring of Honor, like you said. I think that would be the area where I feel like he would fit in the most and be able to contribute the most. Like, I think as far as like New Japan or AEW, I don't really think that he would fit there. He to me, I think he's shown that he was in TNA in the past. I kind of feel like he'd be a TNA guy.
Would it be crazy, again, restocking? We talked about the Bullet Club. Can you see Dillinger, maybe? Bullet Club. Go over to Japan. Would he be a good fit in that kind of situation?
As far as Dillinger is concerned, I think it's a good move for him to get out of there. They weren't really doing a whole lot with him, and I think also that's partially because as far as charisma goes, he was another guy that wasn't really all that entertaining. I mean, outside of that 10 chant, he was kind of dry, bro.
he kind of dry. That's all he had was that chant.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, too, like, you look at that, like the proposed gimmick of what it was supposed to be, the perfect 10. Why was he not a heel? Answer that to me, bro.
That is a perfect thought from you. Perfect. Because you don't call yourself a perfect 10 unless you think you're a perfect 10. And that might be why there was always that disconnect with him, because it didn't make sense.
Yeah, it almost seems like he didn't believe the gimmick. And I think also, like I said, too, I think it's also, like I said, that he wasn't a heel. Right. To me, like, on paper, that gimmick, that's a heel character. If I'm booking this, that's definitely like a heel character who's going to, like, basically think that he's better than everybody and, maybe even be like the narcissist Lex Luger, like be like a type of character like that that's, like, basically in love with himself.
Mm-hmm. That makes total sense.
But yeah, I would say that as far as he goes, like, it's definitely a good move. I think that he would benefit the most from going to either AEW or not New Japan, but maybe Ring of Honor. I think he definitely kind of has that vibe to him that he would be more of like, I don't think he would quite fit into like with Japan, but I kind of feel like he kind of like with that connection with Cody Rhodes, that would probably be the obvious move. But I think what he brings to the table, I think Ring of Honor would be a better fit just because of the fact he probably wouldn't have to quite do as much stuff on the mic.
That's a good point, too. Yep, good point, too. Give me your thoughts on Itami.
I think, honestly, he's better off getting out of there as well. I think it's been documented that he kind of wants to go back home. He wants to be in Japan. I noticed, like, with him, I think as far as out of the Japanese talent they've had, I think he's had the hardest time transitioning, with the style and, of course, the language barrier. So to me, I think it's perfect for him to get out of there. They really weren't doing nothing with the guy. They already have another 205 Live talent that was Japanese and Akira Tozawa. So to me, the ceiling was just so short for him. I just felt like they had nothing for the guy. And right now with what's going on, I think up in the coming months, I think he would strongly benefit from going to New Japan instead of I could see him either going back to Pro Wrestling Noah, where he was practically the face of that company for several years. But I think right now his best move would be to go to New Japan because they have the Best of Super Juniors tournament coming up, and I think he'd be one of the perfect people to enter in that. Maybe even have it be like a surprise thing. And, it's funny too that he leaves right now because I'm looking at this and I'm starting to wonder, and maybe you've noticed this. I'm not sure if you have or not, but I almost wonder if they're gonna phase out 205 Live. And the reason I say this is, look at what's going on, like with the roster and what they've been doing the last few months. Leo Rush has been on Raw. Drake Maverick obviously is on Raw managing AOP. The small amount of time that they're on there, of course. Cedric Alexander has been on Raw. Lucha House Party's been on Raw. Mustafa Ali has been brought up to SmackDown. Before his injury, he was starting to really pick up some steam there. Drew Gulak has been on NXT. Tony Nese has been on NXT. They announced earlier today that Noam Dar is going to be going exclusively to NXT UK. And then, of course, Itami's gone. Enzo has been gone, for several months now. Who's really left at that point?
You know what?
I mean, you're looking at this, and it's like it's only Arya Daivari, Tozawa, we mentioned earlier, Buddy Murphy, Mike Kanellis, and that I'm looking at that, and that's about it. And is that really enough to really have a show with? And I think not really. So my question for you is, do you think that with all this stuff going on with them guys leaving, TJP and Itami, do you feel like maybe they are phasing out 205 Live?
Yeah, dude. I didn't think of it in terms of that, but I think you're absolutely right. Now that you said it, I mean, if you think about the days where he was putting the cruiserweight matches on Raw, that went away. Who did Austin Aries? You remember when Austin Aries wrestled the dark match on Mania?
Yeah, I do. I believe that was against either Jack Gallagher or TJP.
Okay, it was one of them, I think. Yeah, but they're more. Yeah, that's what's going on here. They're gonna phase it out. You're absolutely right. There's too much movement going on. So if they just whittled it down to like 4 or 6 guys, right?
Yeah, just about. I mean, I didn't mention every single person there, but if you look at, obviously the names I mentioned before that, there's a lot more, and they're already being on Raw and SmackDown. So, like I said, what do they really have left on 205 Live? There's nothing there, bro. Hey, I'll even take this a step further. I almost wonder if they're going to slowly phase out the brand extension. Look at what we've seen, within the last week or so even. We've had, obviously the pay-per-views are joint branded now, of course. The women's tag team championship was basically a co-branded title. It's not exclusive to either brand. And even with that, on NXT, it's a little bit of a spoiler for you. Sasha and Bayley actually showed up on NXT and said that they were open to all comers and they'd be willing to defend the titles on NXT. So it almost seems like to me that maybe we are getting to that point where they might be getting rid of the brands and having everybody just be on one show. I mean, even look at the women's title.
Well, let me stop you here. Let me stop you here because I think you're on to something. But don't forget the Fox deal coming up. I keep seeing these articles that Fox wants Thursday Night Football, Friday Night SmackDown, Saturday college football, Sunday NFL football. So it's in the middle of a football sandwich, basically. But they want to package that as a package, basically. a sports oriented kind of like a prime time, daytime, prime time, getting into the weekends, sports lineup, if you will. How would they do that? Like, I see your point, and they are there. Yeah, there is something going on. You just pieced this together, and I did not catch any of this. If they are whittling down to one brand, they can't necessarily do one brand. If they're going to make that look like sports, like Fox wants them to, then I'm assuming you do need those athletes there because, I mean, I don't know how far they're going to go with it, but if they send out Daniel Bryan and he's talking about saving the earth and hemp and all the stuff that he's been doing, like he's doing this heel hippie deal, that's not reflective of a sport. That's not something that the guys on, NFL game day or whatever it is, or, NCAA game day on a Saturday afternoon can put that over as a sport. You know what I mean? So how do you fit that into what you're saying?
Yeah, honestly, even though I say that, I'm not 100% sure. And I think that's a testament to WWE that they don't even know what the hell they're doing half the time. Because I think there's so many plot holes with real life things going on that they don't know what they're doing right now. They're like the chicken with its head cut off.
But it definitely,
around.
It definitely appears like you're onto something there, though.
Yeah. I'm not really quite sure on this. We might have to get in, General Stames or the cool down guy to get an opinion on this because I'm not sure. We almost don't have all the pieces of the puzzle together here. Maybe they could help us figure this out because there's something really going on here, and I don't even know what it is at this point.
Yeah, there's something brewing for sure. Maybe now that I think of it, maybe he's just in a hurry at this point. Like, it would make sense to me that maybe he wanted to look at Gargano. Maybe he just wanted him on Raw. All of them, Ricochet. Because to me, Ricochet, in Vince's eyes, Ricochet could be that athlete on Friday Night SmackDown. Like, I don't know how far they're going to take it. If it's going to be like fake UFC, with a ranking system or, kind of like what Tony Khan was talking about, wins and losses mattering. If it's going to be more of an athletic competition, that would make a lot of sense as to why he just willy-nilly pulled up 4 NXT guys and said, okay. Because to me, if he's looking at that, he's probably thinking, okay, Ciampa, good. Black, good. The other 2 guys, they're my sports guys. You know what I mean? That you're on to something. We're going to figure this out. I didn't think of this, but there's definitely a mishmash going on here, Saint, and you picked up on it. So kudos.
Yeah, and even with them 4 individuals on NXT this week, I know this is going to basically be another spoiler again, but all 4 guys were still on NXT. They were on Raw. They were on SmackDown. So that kind of also does lead me that maybe we are going into that territory where they're going to slowly get rid of the brands and just have everybody be on all 3 shows. Now, one thing before we move on, I do want to kind of cover these NXT call-ups, even though you guys have already done it several times before. Bro, they absolutely ruined a lot of that on Raw on Monday. A lot of that was it was done so poorly, and it almost basically made all 4 guys not seem quite as important by bringing up all 4 of them at once. And, I really don't know even why they had Gargano and Ciampa be a tag team, because on NXT, and again, another spoiler, they're back to feuding again. They basically have teased that Gargano is going to challenge Ciampa for the world title at the next takeover. But yet and this is proof in the pudding as what you've said in the past, that NXT doesn't matter. They're, on Raw and SmackDown, they're a tag team and they're all buddy. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yep. I'm guessing Vince doesn't care. Whatever Triple H has going on, He obviously thinks he supersedes it, and he has that right because he owns the damn thing. But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It totally does seem like they just don't care. Everything that they've done over the last few years has gotten sloppier, it's gotten lazier. It really does feel like without that strong competition that they're just coasting by. Like they kind of feel like they could just rest on their laurels and just put out a shitty product because they don't have any competition. So they figure, what does it matter? We'll just give them whatever. It doesn't have to be good because we don't have anybody to go up against.
Another guy that's been let go from WWE, and this wraps back around to Matt Hardy in a producer role, or Abyss made his debut the other night. I shouldn't say debut, but he showed up for the first day on the job. Arn Anderson has been let go. To me, this is according to Pro Wrestling Sheet. I don't know if WWE released anything yet. If it is true that Arn Anderson has reportedly been let go, this I don't understand unless he just wants to go home and retire. That was not part of the story. All they know is Thursday night he was apparently let go. This one befuddles me. And the only thing that I can make of it, and then you tell me your thoughts, Electric City Saint, but the only thing that I can make of it is Vince is looking at WrestleMania season. He's looking at the ratings. He's bringing in the NXT guys. Now he's hiring producers. To me, this is a problem with Mr. McMahon. It's not my fault the ratings are down. It's got to be the on-screen talent. Give me 4 NXT guys. Okay, that didn't work. Well, maybe I should shake up the backstage. It's not me. It's got to be my producers. It's got to be my agents. Arn Anderson gone. Abyss in. And there's more people coming that we know. We reported that on the channel 2 weeks ago. What do you make of this? Because this is not just some producer. This is Arn freaking Anderson, Electric City Saint. I don't know why you would let a guy like that ever leave your company unless he's retiring.
Yeah, I don't know either, bro. It's actually insane to think about because let's put it this way. Arn Anderson, you think of him, he's been in the business since basically the 70s.
Yeah.
And he's been in WWE since literally after WCW collapsed in 2001. He's literally been there for 18 years. That's a lot of time, and obviously he's probably one of the best minds in the business.
Yep.
I think there's no denying that. But to me, it almost seems like there's got to be something behind that. Like, I just don't see them just randomly getting rid of him and saying, okay, we have too many producers now, we got to get rid of you. I look at it like this, that maybe he is considering just retiring totally, because if you look at him, he's really getting up there in age. I mean, like I said, he's literally been in the business since about the 70s, so he's definitely on the older side, of course. And I think if he was to retire now, I think he's already proven it. He has had a Hall of Fame career. Mm-hmm. No matter whatever way you look at it, I don't think he really has too much left to prove at this point.
I'll tell you what, and again, I know we're becoming that channel that's revolving around AEW. But boy, oh boy, if they can grab Arn Anderson, I'm in. I think that would be a great hire.
Yeah, he'd be on my short list of who I would want to bring in immediately. He'd be probably top 10.
Okay, so now coming off Arn Anderson, this leads me to the last point that I want to bring up, and then we can get out of here. But this is a big one. Dustin Rhodes converted his social media from Goldust to just Dustin Rhodes. He tweeted 2 days ago, PSA, I will be changing my name on Twitter. Don't speculate, just want it different. Thanks, Dustin Rhodes. He is now at Dustin Rhodes on Twitter, and I guess he changed his Instagram. Now he's saying don't speculate. So I'm not going to listen to him. I'm going to speculate. Am I wrong to speculate? You know where I'm going with this. I mentioned the other day when Stames and I were talking about the AEW tease on his on Cody's was it Nightmare Family Road to Double or Nothing, whatever he's calling that on YouTube. That mystery opponent for him, I actually thought it would be cool to see Dustin Rhodes. I'm going to speculate. I'm going to speculate away, and I want you to speculate also. For a guy to come out and just say, I will be changing my name on Twitter, don't speculate, I just want it different. This is Dustin Rhodes. Again, I don't know if he was a producer as well. I got to think he had a role backstage. I don't think his main role is just being Goldust. Is this another casualty? And more, equally important, Saint, address the fact, why are they spring cleaning now? If this is a part of the spring cleaning. If it's not, maybe they just want him to be Dustin Rhodes for the NXT gimmick. Maybe he's going to make the appearance for the Dusty Rhodes thing. And then maybe he'll change it back. But that's no fun. I want to speculate. What do you think? Speculate away.
Well, I would say this much. I think maybe I look at this one of two ways. Either that's him signifying that he is basically done with his in-ring career, like with the Goldust character, that he's just going to be Dustin Rhodes. He's going to be backstage producing, or he'll be showing up on, the Dusty Rhodes Classic or whatever. Or, like you said, maybe it's a prelude to him getting the hell out of there. Because if you look at what's happened over, the last week or so, or the last month or so, Itami basically, he changed his whole name on there. And I think a couple of them other guys also did as well. I believe Dillinger's Twitter handle is his real name as well, Ronnie Arnail. So that leads me to wonder, or is it to the point where he is considering getting out of there as well? Or, like you said, maybe we're just overthinking this.
I mean, it could simply be just for the Dusty Rhodes tournament. But it's quite ironic that it's taking place so close to the AEW show. I mean, boy, oh boy. Go ahead.
Bro, how good of a match would that be? Or Dustin Rhodes versus Cody. I mean, without any kind of gimmicks or anything, I think they could tell a very good story and tear it up. I mean, yes, they have done a match in the past in WWE, but let's face reality, that was Stardust versus Goldust.
Right.
This would be something totally different.
And it would be cool on, I know there's more people in that front office other than Cody Rhodes, but it's kind of Cody's big night. I think that would be a super cool thing to do. And they wouldn't even need a story. They are the story. If Dustin just went in there to kick the show off and said, you don't have an opponent, now you do. They shake, they hug hands. No, strike that, reverse it. They shake hands, they hug. The match is set. You don't need a storyline. You know what I mean? So I think that would be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is Cody Rhodes himself actually did tease that his opponent might have a personal element to it. So right there, that tells you a lot that he is a very strong possibility, obviously, since they're brothers.
Right, yes.
Yeah, I feel like his opponent's definitely going to be somebody that he has some kind of history with, whether that be, Dustin Rhodes, or maybe it would be, even like Damian Sandow. What's he been doing the last few years? He could be somebody that they could bring in that he would have, that history with, like with the Rhodes Scholars.
That's an interesting... Man, Saint, you are bringing it. Listen, you haven't been on with me since the Countdown show, but minus the Countdown show. You got to get on here more, brother. You're thinking in a way that I'm not even thinking. I didn't even give that a second thought, but now after hearing it, I think that would be awesome to see Sandow come back. Where the hell is he? I don't know. I know he had a stint in TNA when he first left.
Yeah, I think for sure it definitely would be. But it is really funny. Where has he been? What's he been doing the last few years? I would love to look into that because, like you said, he had that short run with TNA, but he's not there anymore. Still, is he?
Not that I know of, but he could be. I mean, listen, all jokes aside, all peek behind the curtain. I've not watched Impact in a very long time. Like that, once I heard Billy Corgan was exiting and there was that lawsuit where they owed him all that money, at that point I said, they're dead in the water. And I stopped watching, honestly. And I know they've been using a lot of the same talent on Lucha Underground, and, Penta's been there and all that stuff. I know Sami Callihan or whoever they're using. I know it's probably decent, but I haven't been watching. I just can't. That killed me. After I found out they owed Corgan that much money and he was bailing them out for recordings at the last minute, that was the sign for me that they were done.
Right. Yeah, I think that's around the same time that I stopped watching it as well. Probably a little bit before that, because I was still watching it when they were doing like the broken Matt Hardy stuff, of course, because that was one of the most intriguing things on television at the time, especially in the professional wrestling business. But like not long after that, I think is when I basically pulled the plug on them as well and stopped watching.
You know what's sad too? I don't know if you heard this. And I don't know if it's true because I didn't care enough to look because it's just sad. But I saw a video on YouTube that I did not watch that was titled Impact Pulls 12,000 Viewers. And we know they just went to that small outdoors type channel that no one watches. And if that's true, that company has fallen to 12,000 viewers. That's just sad. Like, at what point do you just close the doors and give up? I don't know what the heck they can do at this point. 12,000? People thought they were dying when they hit like 200,000. This is a slow, painful death for them. And it makes me sad because, I mean, we talked about it on the latest Countdown show. How you, me, General Stames, we all at a time loved TNA, and it wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't. And, what's really sad about this is, like, I do feel like they might not be able to salvage it at this point. 12,000 viewers is nothing, bro. I mean, look at our local news station. We're going to shout out WNEP here for a little bit. But, bro,
dun, dun,
they pull in,
dun,
in way more.
Dun, 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 dun. Okay, go ahead. I had to do it.
I know.
Shout out Carolyn Blackburn, baby. Hashtag Carolyn Blackburn. Crush.
But bro,
crush of the week.
For real though.
Hollywood crush. Go ahead. I'll stop. Go ahead.
But bro, like for real though, WNEP, our local news station, they basically pull in probably triple of that.
Yeah, think about
daily.
That. Yeah,
think about that for a second. I mean, 12,000 is almost nothing, really. Like that's like a drop in the bucket as far as television goes. And as far as what they've been doing, like it doesn't help that every single year it seems like that they're practically like they're changing the channel that they're on. Because as each like transition goes by, I've noticed that less and less people actually have the channel that is carrying the show. Like, for example, when they were on Pop, I did not have access to that channel at all. And I know for a fact that there was a lot of other people that didn't as well. But now when they're on this new channel, even less people have it. Mm-hmm. And then you combine that with the fact that people are just losing interest in the product. I mean, I really don't know if they could save this at this point. I know it's been said millions of times over the last few years that TNA is going to die and all this, but when it's this bad like this, I don't think there is any kind of way back from this.
No, I agree. And, TNA was always, like, to me, they were the Tennessee, Jarrett, And then obviously Dixie. Like the mystique ended when they officially changed the name and then they moved it to Canada. Like it's not even the same thing anymore. It's some kind of weird, I don't know, man. Like it just lost its charm to me. You know, they were always the underdog. They were on life support and then they would bounce back. It's like like I said, a slow, painful death. But they definitely lost the charm to me, and I just have no interest. I don't know what could make me interested in them again, honestly.
Yeah, they really lost the mystique, I feel, that TNA had. And I also feel like they really lost the atmosphere that, early TNA in the Asylum or in the Impact Zone that they had back then, that there was a certain atmosphere to that. I wouldn't really say it was like a cult atmosphere, but it was very similar to that. And it almost felt like a very much like an ECW type thing. And I think that's what really led a lot of people towards liking TNA, apart of course from their great roster that they used to have. And now when you look at what they have now, there's no like mood or no kind of like atmosphere to it. Like I know that's really weird to say, like in reference to a professional wrestling promotion, like their TV show, but I think it's really a true thing. And I think any kind of facet of media, I think atmosphere is always a very important and a very underrated aspect of what makes something good or bad.
Yeah, I don't want to put a word in your mouth, but I think identity might be a good word. They don't have one.
Right, there you go. That was the perfect way to sum that up.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is important. You need an identity. You need to know what you're getting from that brand, I guess you could say. And they don't have one. And they used to. Like you said, in the early days, it did kind of have like an ECW type, like it was a rebel group. And then from there it transitioned into, the James Storm, Mickey James. Like it felt more Southern to me. And that's what I liked about it. And then it just all slowly started breaking apart. Like AJ Styles, he was the face of the company and he had this Southern accent. Like it felt like it had that Southern charm to me.
Yeah, it almost seems like now they don't. The promotion itself doesn't have a character. I mean, it's silly to say that, but like even look back at the Impact Zone. The Impact Zone itself actually had character to it and practically was a character. Now, when you look at what they do now, it's like there is no character to it.
Yeah. The death of TNA. I'm getting sad. I miss Dixie. Never thought you'd hear that, huh, people? Somebody misses Dixie. Yeah, I miss Dixie Carter. How about that? Madam Dixie. She's probably thinking, yep, one day they're going to miss me, darling. Hollywood. Serge, get in here. Listen to Hollywood. He misses me. But I'm sure Dixie's okay.
It's funny, too, because you look at what she did, say what you will about her, but, that character that she had as, being that Southern Belle, like with that was the owner of the promotion. I think it was so funny, like the way like she acted, like, and she was over. Yep. Let's face reality. Yep. She was over it. Look at the infamous "It Happened" moment with the table spot with Bully Ray.
Yep.
That was one of the biggest pops and one of the most highly viewed videos of professional wrestling at the time. And nobody gave her or that promotion any credit for that.
Yep. Yeah, and they did such a build up to that too. Yeah, that was
right.
That was good stuff.
It was practically about a year or two build up because it practically kind of coincided with like the Aces and Eights and all that, which was another obviously a big storyline that all four of us loved basically.
Yep. Yep. But now we don't even have that. Electric City saying all we can do is complain about Raw. Like seriously, how sad is this? I mean, you're came on here and you're giving out Purple Hearts and Medal of Honors because we had to watch Raw. Think about that. There's no alternative right now. There's just not a real alternative. We just went through it. ROH is taping out. Impact, I don't even know what the hell it is. New Japan is still New Japan. They're always going to be New Japan. But what about this country? Damn it. What am I supposed to do? I just got to wait for AEW, I guess, like everybody else.
Yeah, it almost seems that way. And it's sad that it's like that. And like I said, it almost seems like Raw really is enough to drive somebody insane. Like, forget waterboarding, bro. That should be some kind of torture.
True.
Just make them watch Raw. I mean, that's enough to make somebody want to like give in and want to like spill their guts or whatever, or just I don't know, bro. It's sad.
The state of wrestling. Ay, ay, ay. Tony Khan, you cannot come quick enough. Oh, dude, I just can't wait to turn on a TV show and be excited again. The last time it happened was pretty much Lucha Underground because it was brand new. I loved it. That's dead now. I don't know if you saw that. Here's another news bit. We're doing news bits. Krista Joseph tweeted, he's like the main writer there, producer, whatever title he has. Somebody asked him, is it coming back? And he actually said the words, I think it's dead. I mean, bro.
That honestly doesn't surprise me. Like with the way they've been losing everybody over there, they don't got nobody else left.
No, nope.
There'd be no reason to watch that program or even like waste people's time producing it. I mean, like if basically I look at it this way, the only guy that you can have left is Joey Ryan, and it's practically because he's like practically stuck in this lifetime contract or whatever that they be joking about.
Right. Ugh. Saint, what are we gonna do? Let me give you the nightmare scenario. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
What if AEW debuts and we're so hyped for it and it's not good?
That's honestly really weird to think about because I think I wouldn't say it's highly probable, but there is that small chance of that being the case where maybe we get too caught up into the hype with this and then it ends up sucking ass.
Yeah, that would be bad. That would be bad.
I think though, in my case, if it was bad the first couple shows, I would still give it a chance because, they're going to need time to grow, of course, and, fix out the kinks. But I think if they're smart, they'll make sure there's no issues going into this, they'll have everything all ready to go without any issues once it actually airs.
Yeah. I mean, it like I said, nightmare scenario. I don't think for a second that it's going to be bad, but my God, if it happens to be not as good as we hope it is, that could be a problem.
Yeah, it absolutely could be, and I feel like it's almost good that they don't have the TV deal quite right away because they still have probably to about one or two pay-per-views between when they actually start the TV that they could figure things out as far as how they're going to produce it and what camera angles they're going to use, where they're going to put people in each spot as far as where they fit in the roster. They have time to figure that out now. Mm-hmm. And, that's probably good that they have that time instead of just jumping right in, because I feel like if they just suddenly started AEW, like their television program, if it started like tomorrow, I would kind of worry a little bit because I think I'd be too rushed, and I feel like they wouldn't really have everything locked down and ready to go, like all guns loaded and blazing.
Yep.
But like I said, with that extra time now that they have between now and then, I'm pretty sure all them guys are very smart. They'll figure everything out, and once it actually does launch, it'll be exactly what we're thinking it's going to be.
Electric City Saint, do you have anything else before we scoot out of here?
Yeah, I do. I actually want to talk a little bit more about AEW, if
Okay.
that's okay with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bro, the wise win before they fight, while the ignorant fight to win. Think about that for a second in regards to AEW. They are already winning the fight without even trying because WWE right now, they are in panic mode. I'm pretty sure that they realize that AEW is a real threat. And this is almost an unprecedented thing, within the last few years because they really like if you look at TNA, there was only maybe about a year or so when they were kind of a threat to them. And other than that, there's been no other companies on their radar. But I look at it this way, I really feel like they are scared of AEW.
Let me add something. I was talking to the general today, and we were talking about the SmackDown move to Friday nights at 8. And I will swing back to AEW. Currently, right now, he told me that Last Man Standing with Tim Allen is the Friday night show at 8 o'clock. And they're pulling in like 6 million some people every episode. If SmackDown doesn't get that, which they won't, how long does Fox let that go? And you want to talk about panic mode? I know they paid $2 billion for it and signed a contract, but the way television works is if you don't make ratings, you're canceled.
Right.
So you want to talk about panic mode? That's happening in October. With the new season coming up, the fall season. That's how TV operates. I'm pretty sure, just a guess, AEW will announce and probably debut this fall on TV. I mean, Electric City Saint. People think this move, SmackDown to Fox, is going to be such a great idea. I'm not too sure. You're talking about a major network here. Not that USA is a slouch, but I'm saying, they're going to be on channel 5, not channel 30, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't think that show is going to pull in 6 million people like a Tim Allen can pull in. So you want to talk about panic. In one fell swoop, he may get the news. Imagine this. October. And oh my God, the WWE towards the end of the year is miserable. We know that. They're pulling in a 2-7 right now. It's WrestleMania season. They could pull in a 2-3 that first week of October when the shows debut. SmackDown could pull in under a 2. Fox might call him and go, what the hell did I pay for? 2 million people? And then you have AEW that might hit. It doesn't even matter at that point what they hit. Because as long as they're competitive with his number, you want to see panic. He might go crazy.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I could see that as being certainly a big possibility. And I look at this way too. Like this kind of circles back to what I said earlier. I feel like they don't have that pressure on them with USA. And that's why they're able to just phone it in and rest on their laurels and be happy enough with a 2.7 rating, which, in the grand scheme of things in television, that's nothing. I mean, if you look at the presidential inauguration and stuff like that, all think like major events like that pull in over like more like 10,000 or more or 10 million or more.
Yeah.
And they're only getting 2.7. That's nothing. Especially like if you look at how things were back in the Attitude Era when they were practically getting double or triple of that just in one night.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like now I just feel like, as I said, without having the pressure from the network that they're on, it just seems like they're able to just skate by, just doing like willy-nilly, doing whatever, and apparently it's good enough for them. But like you said, I don't think that will fly on Fox.
No
way. If they're only pulling in 2 million views, they will not last long on that network at all.
Could you imagine Raw 2.2 million, SmackDown 2 million, AEW 2.5 million. He will go ballistic. He'll go ballistic. And I don't think AEW is even going to run against them, like head to head. But he'll still go nuts. He'll go crazy. And I know there's those fans that will always watch Raw, you know, but who's to say he won't lose those people too, you know, if they see a better product. I don't know who those people are. I know they're out there, but my goodness, who knows?
Yeah, that's why I said, though, I do feel like already it does feel like, in my opinion, that AEW is kind of winning this, because I don't feel like right now they don't have a show yet or nothing, but you know, they already feel like they kind of won because they're not trying to win, like as I kind of attested to earlier. WWE, they're really trying to win so hard and, you know, be this global dominant brand, and they're just not. Mm-hmm. You're a professional wrestling company, simple as that.
Right.
I mean, maybe that's the answer to this. They got to stop trying to be something that they're not.
It's going to be very interesting. I'm glad that we started this channel when we did. And I want to say, if you made it this far, thanks to everybody for listening. If you're a listener and you're not subscribed, hit the subscription and the notification bell, because, man, I'm glad we started this when we did. Because we're going to get to witness the AEW first show. And Saint, come this fall, we are going to be very, very, very busy, I think, on this channel. There's going to be so much to talk about if AEW debuts the same season that SmackDown moves to Fox. We are going to be busy, sir.
Yeah, I think we definitely have a lot of stuff in store this year, as far as what we're going to be producing on this channel, and also what we have to look forward to in the professional wrestling business. There is a lot to look forward to, and there's a lot going on. You know, even though right now I kind of feel like we're in like a down period with stuff, and it's a lot of the stuff we're doing is just complaining about stuff. I think there actually will be stuff to be, you know, happy about and actually enjoy for a change, you know, probably coming this fall. I just want to say that I'm very thankful and very grateful for, you know, the listeners that we do have so far. This has actually been a very cool journey the last 3 weeks. I will say this on behalf of Jeff Edwards. I'm very satisfied with how things are going so far. I think it's been a slow climb, but I think we're very happy with how things are going.
Couldn't agree more, sir. Couldn't agree more.
Soldiers of Shoot. Soldiers of Shoot.